Today we're jumping into a really powerful vision. It's from Ezekiel chapter 43.
Yes, a pivotal chapter. It's all about, well, return, restoration, and um, what it means for God's presence to come back to a specific place.
And it doesn't ease you in, does it? The chapter just starts. Ezekiel's brought to this gate, the one facing east.
Right, the East Gate. And then, bam, this incredible event. He sees the glory of the God of Israel arriving.
Arriving with, well, with real force, from the east, just like the gate. It's not subtle.
Not at all. The description is so sensory. There's this sound like the roar of rushing waters. Just imagine that power.
Immense, overwhelming. And visually, the land itself is described as radiant with this glory.
Yeah, it's like a total sensory overload almost. It makes it clear something huge, something truly divine is happening.
And for Ezekiel himself, this must have been, well, it connects directly to his past, doesn't it?
Absolutely. He explicitly links it. Says it's like the visions he saw before.
The ones just before Jerusalem was destroyed and those earlier ones by the Kibar River. So it's familiar but still completely overwhelming, clearly.
It seems so. And his reaction tells you everything. He just falls face down.
That posture of just total awe, humility, maybe even fear in the face of that kind of presence.
Definitely. And the movement is important too. This glory, it enters the temple.
Through that same gate, the east gate it arrived from, there's a specific path being laid out here.
Yes, it enters through the east, and then the Spirit lifts Ezekiel, brings him right into the inner court. And the glory, it doesn't just peek in.
No, it fills the temple, the inner court, the temple building itself. The whole place is just saturated with it.
It's this powerful image of like reoccupation, isn't it?
Mm-mm.
After the earlier chapters where God's glory departed.
Exactly. It's a divine return, filling that void.
And once that presence is established, Ezekiel hears something, a voice.
Right. While the man, his guide, is standing there with him, this voice speaks from inside the temple.
And it identifies itself.
Yeah.
It's the sovereign Lord. The declaration that follows is, well, it's foundational.
Son of man, it says, this is the place of my throne and the place for the soles of my feet. It's claiming the temple as God's specific dwelling place on earth, his seat of authority.
And the promise is huge. This is where I will live among the Israelites forever. Forever. That's permanence.
But there's always a but, isn't there? It's not automatic.
No, it's conditional. The voice immediately says, the house of Israel will never again defile my holy name. Neither the people nor their kings.
And by their prostitution and the lifeless idols of their kings at their high places. So this forever presence, it depends on them not repeating the very sins that caused the glory to leave before.
And the text gets really specific about how they defiled it. It uses this striking image.
It's a threshold image, right? Placing their threshold next to my threshold and their doorposts beside my doorposts.
With only a wall between me and them, it's incredibly close. Putting their profane practices right up against God's sacred space.
That really paints a picture. It's not just idolatry somewhere else. It's this invasive proximity, mingling the unholy right next to the holy.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
Violating that essential boundary. And it adds, they defiled his name by their detestable practices, this blurring of lines, this lack of separation.
That's given as the direct reason for the past judgment. So I destroyed them in my anger. It's stark.
It really is. Which makes the path forward equally clear.
For God to live among them forever, the condition is stated again. Now let them put away from me their prostitution and the lifeless idols of their kings.
And I will live among them forever. It's a direct equation. Remove the defilement, restore the presence. Repentance leads to restoration.
Cause and effect, plain and simple. So after this powerful declaration, this condition, there's a shift, isn't there?
Yes, the voice gives Ezekiel a command. It moves from declaration to instruction.
He's told, describe the temple to the people of Israel. So this vision, this blueprint, it's not just for him, it needs to be shared.
Right. And the reason given for sharing it is fascinating. That they may be ashamed of their sins.
Wow. So the vision of the future holy temple is meant to provoke shame about their past failures? That's powerful.
It is. It's meant to make them realize what they lost, what they caused. But it's not just about feeling bad.
No, the command continues. Let them consider the plan. So shame leads to reflection, which leads to engaging with God's design for the future.
Exactly. And there's another condition here. If they are ashamed of what they've done, then Ezekiel gets further instructions.
Okay, what then?
Then he's to make known to them the design of the temple, its arrangement, its exits and entrances, its whole design, and all its regulations and laws, the full details.
So the full revelation, all the intricate plans, that's actually contingent on their repentance first. It shows how accessing this holiness isn't automatic.
Precisely. Holiness has structure, rules, a specific form, and it requires the right heart posture to even receive the details.
And it's not just about knowing the plan in their heads.
No, there's another command. Write these down before them. Why?
Right.
So that they may be faithful to its design and follow all its regulations.
Writing it down, making it tangible, permanent, emphasizing that faithfulness means sticking exactly to this divine blueprint, no improvising.
Absolutely. Precision is key. And then we get this kind of summary statement, this fundamental law for the whole area.
All the surrounding area on top of the mountain will be most holy.
Most holy. Not just holy, but the highest degree of sacredness, set apart completely.
And the text doubles down. Such is the law of the temple. That's the baseline principle for everything that follows.
Right. And building directly on that idea of utmost holiness, the text then zooms in. It gives incredibly specific instructions for the altar.
The absolute center of worship in this restored temple. And it even starts with a measuring stick, right?
Yeah, it specifies long cubits, defines it as a standard cubit plus a handbreadth. So a slightly larger, perhaps more sacred measurement. Even the units are distinct.
Precision again. Okay, so the altar itself, it starts at the bottom.
Yes, with the base, there's a gutter, a cubit deep and wide, and around that, a rim of one span, like a channel or border at ground level.
Okay, I can picture that. Then it builds up.
It does. From that gutter up to the lower ledge is 2 cubits high and 1 cubit wide. So you get this first step or platform.
And then another level.
Yep. From the smaller ledge up to the larger ledge. That's 4 cubits high and again 1 cubit wide.
Yeah.
So it's rising in tiers.
Got it. And above that larger ledge is the main part.
That's the altar hearth. It's 4 cubits high itself. And importantly, from its corners, 4 horns project upward.
Those horns you see on drawings of ancient altars, not just decoration, right? They had a function.
Exactly. Often for applying sacrificial blood, holding the sacrifice. They were key liturgical elements.
And the hearth itself, the main surface for the fire.
It's square, 12 cubits long and 12 cubits wide. A pretty substantial area.
But there's even a level above that.
There is. The upper ledge, it says, also is square, 14 cubits long and 14 cubits wide. So it actually overhangs the hearth slightly.
14 by 14. And it has its own details, too.
It does. A rim of half a cubit and a gutter of a cubit all around. Even the very top edges are meticulously defined, down to the half cubit.
Incredible detail. And then that direction comes up again.
It does. Just like the gate the glory entered, the steps of the altar face east.
East again. That direction seems really significant in this whole vision of return and renewed worship.
It definitely seems highlighted. So you have this incredibly complex, multi-level structure, specified down to the smallest detail. What does that tell you?
Well, it suggests that approaching God, conducting worship, it's not casual, it's not approximate. It demands following the divine instructions exactly.
Right. Holiness requires this kind of exactness, even physically. And it's not just about building it right. The text immediately shifts to how to use it.
The regulations for actually making sacrifices, sacrificing burnt offerings and sprinkling blood upon the altar when it is built. This is the command from the sovereign Lord.
And the very first thing required, once this meticulously designed altar is built, it needs to be consecrated, purified.
Okay, how does that happen?
On day 1, a young bull is brought as a sin offering, specifically for the priests who are going to serve there.
And it mentions the priests, again, Levites of the family of Zadok, reinforcing that specific lineage for this restored priesthood. So it's about making the priests ready.
Partly, but the blood ritual described seems primarily for the altar. It says to take some of its blood and put it on the 4 horns, on the 4 corners of the upper ledge, and all around the rim.
Ah, so applying the blood to the key points of the altar itself.
Yes, to purify and make atonement for the altar. It's setting the altar apart, making it holy and ready for God's service.
And the bull used for this, what happens to it?
It's taken away. It's to be burned in the designated part of the temple area outside the sanctuary. So the purification happens on the altar, but the remains of the sin-bearing animal are dealt with separately.
Right, and this isn't just a one-time thing.
No, the purification continues. On the second day, they offer a male goat without defect as a sin offering, and they purify the altar again, as it was purified with the bull.
So a repeated cleansing, making absolutely sure it's set apart.
Exactly. It's deliberate, thorough, and after this initial 2-day purification is done,
Then the regular offerings can start.
well, offerings that are part of the dedication. When you have finished purifying it, they offer a young bull and a ram from the flock, both without defect. Standard offerings, but presented as part of this consecration sequence.
And the priests do something specific with them.
They sprinkle salt on them and sacrifice them as a burnt offering to the Lord. Salt often symbolizes covenant permanence.
Okay, so purification, then dedication offerings. How long does this whole process take?
It extends for a full week, 7 days. For 7 days, you are to provide a male goat daily for a sin offering, plus the bull and ram daily, all without defect.
Wow, a whole week of these specific rituals.
Yes, and the purpose is stated clearly. For 7 days, they are to make atonement for the altar and cleanse it. Thus, they will dedicate it. It's a complete commissioning process.
Transforming it from just stone and metal into a truly consecrated functional altar.
Precisely. And the result, the culmination of all this.
That's when normal worship can finally begin.
Right. At the end of these days, from the 8th day on, the priests are to present your burnt offerings and fellowship offerings on the altar. It's now fully ready.
And the ultimate outcome of following this whole detailed plan, the construction, the 7-day ritual, the right offerings.
It's the promise stated right at the end by God. Then I will accept you, declares the sovereign Lord.
Acceptance. That's the goal. Direct acceptance from God, tied directly to faithfully following his instructions for holiness.
Exactly. Adherence leads to acceptance.
So looking back at this chapter, it's really taken us on quite a path, hasn't it? Started with that dramatic, powerful return of God's glory from the east.
Filling the temple, but then immediately coupled with that stark reminder of why it left the people's defilement, mixing the holy and profane.
And that call for them to feel shame, real shame, over their past sins as the first step towards restoration.
Before they can even fully grasp the new plan, then comes the revelation of the design. But only if they're ashamed.
And the sheer level of detail in that design, especially for the altar, it's just, well, it's mind-boggling. Measurement by measurement.
Down to the handbreadth, the half cubit, and then the equally detailed 7-day ritual to purify and dedicate it.
It paints such a strong picture of what holiness entails in this vision. It's not vague. It demands precision, exactness, complete faithfulness to the divine pattern.
Accessing God's presence, being accepted by Him, it's all bound up in respecting and following these specific instructions. It's not a casual affair.
Not at all. And thinking about it, a couple of things maybe stick out for you, the listener, to mull over. That constant emphasis on the east, for instance.
Yeah, the glory arrives from the east, enters the east gate, the altar steps face east. In this context of return, of a new beginning after judgment, what might that direction signify? It's worth considering.
Definitely. And also, that progression we saw. First, the call to shame over sin, then, conditional on that shame, the revealing of the detailed plan, and finally, the command to follow that plan meticulously to achieve acceptance.
Right. What does that sequence from internal repentance to external precise action tell us about the path to restoring a relationship, especially one that's been broken by failure? Shame, then plan, then faithful action leading to acceptance.
It's a structure for restoration laid out right there, something profound to think about, drawn straight from the text itself.